Happy Friday, everyone. I'm Nuria.
And I'm Frank.
And welcome to another episode of ITT Podcast, which stands for In This Together Podcast. Our podcast is our honest take on relationships, love, and marriage, with the aim of sharing our views and experiences for you to take from it whatever you need.
So whether you're single, dating, in a relationship, or happily married, there is something in it for you.
Hi everyone. Today's episode is called Finance Matters in Marriage. We all know that money is an important part of every relationship, and it can be a delicate topic to navigate. We will be delving into the different ways we manage our finances, from sharing or splitting accounts to creating a financial budget. We will also discuss the impact of finances on relationships. So hopefully this episode should provide you with some valuable insight into the dynamics of money in marriage and in relationships in general.
So why does this topic matter to us?
Yeah, so I think this topic is important because we really believe that a stable financial situation is important for the success of a relationship, and even more so when you're in a marriage. Even in our own marriage, we've seen how important it is for us to be in a stable financial situation. And that can only really be the case if we make sure that we're sorting out our finances and we're on the same page when it comes to finances. So you can't really talk about marriage and it succeeding without talking about finances.
Yeah. I think it's probably one of the core parts of being in a relationship or in a marriage.
Yeah.
You cannot do without being on the same page about it. If you're in a relationship or a marriage that you both deal with the finances on your own, you often find that relationship doesn't get anywhere, I would say.
Yeah, because I think one of the things when we first met, one of the things that I was adamant about is that I feel like we should definitely merge our finances to some degree, in some way. I didn't want us to have separate finances. How did you feel about it when we first started in a serious relationship, when we became serious?
I didn't agree fully with the whole merging account at the start. It was just a case of we should do things together financially.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
We should both be on the same page financially. But there's two aspects of that. You can either have an account where all your money goes into. That's like, you're sharing one account. Yeah. Or you can have your own separate account and then one account that you both share as well.
Yeah.
But we've always done things together in terms of things financially.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any issue with it, but it took a while for me to get my head around the whole pulling money together and the whole doing things together. And I think, when we bought our first house, I think that kind of brought things into perspective about the importance of doing things financially. Certainly my finances are much better when I got into a marriage than it was when I was single, I would say.
Yeah, I think when I say from the beginning, I really was adamant that we need to do things in a merged way. That doesn't really refer to a merged account at all, because I think we are kind of on the same page about what we want to do with our accounts. I think it was more about our approach to finances being more merged, because
so be more open about our finances,
and it being more collaborative,
so,
because I grew up around, I would say in Congolese culture, the majority of the couples that I came across and I was growing up around, they didn't do finances in a very merged way. Their approach to finances was very separate. Most of the aunties and uncles, mums and dads that I was around, they immigrated to the UK, so they were like the first generation to emigrate over. So they all had family back home. Everybody had family back home. And so the husbands and the wives would do things in a very separate way, where it's kind of like, I'm doing things for my family back home, you're doing things for your family back home. And things will sometimes cross over and they wouldn't always know what's going on with each other's finances. Yeah. And that was kind of normal.
That's just, it's not just a Congolese thing. I think it was across the board. Most African or possibly even Asians and stuff. It's possible. It's possible. Yeah. They were not taught to merge their money together. That's not something that they knew about. It was just a case of, okay, but we're married.
Yeah.
That was it.
We each have our roles and that's it. Yeah. We each have our... But how does that kind of correlate with the dynamics of the fact that when you think about our, like my grandfather, for example, there was no such thing as merging money back home in that way, because the woman depended on the man's finances. And even when I think of like Nigerian men are known for kind of providing financially for their wives fully. So how does that kind of relate? Because that's not really how we did it back home. The men provided the money, and the women.
Yeah, but that's but
the woman's money was her money.
Yeah, but that's a different lifestyle.
And I think that's what a lot of people don't recognize.
That's a different lifestyle. When you live in that environment, you live in that world, it's easy to play those roles. You know, the men had their money, the women depended on the men, as you said. But when you come to Europe, things are different from that. Things are more expensive. When you come over to Europe, you often find that both people have to work in order to provide for the family. But obviously, when you have a relationship that the man works and the woman's at home, I don't think there is a merger of finances there. It's a case of what you just said. It's the woman's money is her money, and the man just provides, kind of thing. If that's what they have, have as an agreement. So that's why, our relatives, our uncles and aunties and mums and dads, when they come over here, they're still in that same mindset as the man holds the money, and then the woman asks for the money, or the woman depends on him for the money. But when the woman does her own thing, obviously she works
and she's got her own money, it automatically starts off as a separate thing.
Yeah.
There is no discussion of merging the money, because technically they weren't even used to that dynamic in the first place. So when the women had her own money, I guess it was kind of like, oh well, I have my own money.
Exactly.
And then it's like, oh, okay, okay, let's continue with the marriage and see whether
exactly.
We'll figure it out. I don't think there was a sit down where they agreed how they're gonna approach it.
And that causes a lot of rift in marriages, because obviously the woman's doing her own thing, he's doing his own thing. So we're still talking about why this topic matters to us. So
I mean, I think we've covered that. We believe it's important to regularly talk about your financial situation, and it could help couples to identify any issues or disagreements that they might have and create a solution to address them. If you're talking about your finances, then it's easy to identify where there's issues in how you're both approaching money, and even in future plans, you'll be able to see that. It could also help couples to understand each other's financial goals, their needs and what they value. It could also help in planning and working together to get these goals and needs met. So
I think that's something that we do quite often. We often talk about our future goals and how we're going to financially get to those goals.
And I mean, last week's episode was all about how we manage our relationship, and so the things that we want to achieve, our finances is a big part of that. So
doing all of this will help alleviate any stress you may have.
As a couple, which will make your relationship stronger and healthier and more likely to succeed. So that's a long-winded way of saying that's why it's important. That's why it matters to us.
I think it's critical. It's critical. It could make or break a relationship, I would say, or a marriage.
Definitely. And when we were doing research for this topic, some of the stats that really jumped out at us that was really interesting about finances was that 1 in 5 couples blame money worries on their partner, accusing them of overspending, refusing to save, failing to budget or plan ahead for their future. We also found that financial disagreements was the number 1 cause of divorce. I think we said in a previous episode as well that the top reason that we found for divorce amongst couples was unreasonable behavior. This big reason that encompasses a lot of different things, and finances within those reasons. So you could file on the grounds of unreasonable behavior, which basically just means that your spouse has acted in a way that you can't reasonably be expected to continue living with them. And in those cases, a lot of those issues or unreasonable behavior filings are to do with financial matters. And so it's clear to see that where people are constantly finding themselves in conflict with their partners over finances, it could easily lead to divorce. I think one of the statistics that we found on RamseySolutions.com stated that regularly arguing over finances increases your chances of divorcing by over 30%. So,
which is huge.
That's a big increase to your chance of divorcing.
When you add other aspects of, things trying to trying to drag your relationship.
Exactly. But also an interesting study by Journal of Sociology found that married people accumulate wealth faster than single people at a rate of 77%. Obviously, that's because you're pulling your money together most of the time. But that does show that there is financial benefit in being married, and you're more likely to get wealthier and wealthier. So to be married and stay married, you're more likely to be wealthy, and you'll accumulate wealth faster. So in that case, it's in your best interest, if you are married, to make sure that you give yourself the best chance of staying married and sort out things like finances. So the statistics very much support the fact that finance is an important issue in relationships. And so we thought, we'll cover it today and give you our 2 cents on finances and relationships. Okay, so to get into it, let's talk about us.
Yeah.
The first thing I think we should talk about is our different approaches to finances.
Yeah.
Because I look at finances very different from how you look at finances. Like, I view money differently from you. We've had to learn the hard way with that. And I think we're still working on it. But we had to really kind of work hard at trying to align our thinking with this stuff. So what would you say your approach to finances are? How do you view money if you were going to tell our audience?
Okay, my financial approach is probably seen as a tight-fisted one. But I think I've eased up a bit over the last few years since we've been working on our financial approach, right?
So why would you say it's tight-fisted?
I think it's tight-fisted because I believe in saving.
That's not tight-fisted.
Well, you considered it as tight-fisted. You said I wasn't living life. I was always saving. So
I would say it's more cautious. Tight-fisted is someone that doesn't give and doesn't like to share and keeps everything to themselves.
No.
You can be a cautious, very sensible with money, but you're not tight-fisted.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I will consider my approach as a cautious person when it comes to finances. I believe in saving for a rainy day, which tends to lead to not living for the moment sometimes, and not having fun or not spending when I should be spending. But I do believe in investing in the right things. I don't like wastage in terms of like finances. I enjoy helping family members. I enjoy supporting family members, but I do think that needs to be done as a joint thing with your partner. So as you're aware, when it comes to that, we do have an approach to taking care of that. I do believe in a safe approach to finances.
Okay, come through interview answer. What was that?
That's me expressing myself.
I know, but you're like, I do believe in.
No, but it's true. That's what I believe. Yeah, I do believe that's my approach. Is cautious. Maybe sometimes a little bit too cautious, I would say. But
it depends on who's judging.
Yeah. So believe in saving for a rainy day, putting the money away for the kids.
I love when people say saving for a rainy day, because it's one of those things where it's like, what is a rainy day really?
You know a rainy day when things pop up out of nowhere. Yeah, that's what you call a rainy day. So how about you?
Yeah, well, I'm sure everyone that listens to our podcast by now knows that I'm always the opposite. So I am a you only live once type of person, I think.
YOLO.
Yeah, I mean, I am definitely, look, I'm going to stand in it, okay? Because sometimes I feel embarrassed about my views in money.
Should be.
But...
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Oh, come on.
But yet, yeah, we are.
Do you think I should be ashamed of myself?
You should be. I should flog you for that. But no, Carol, you give your one. You give your...
Nah, I mean, listen, I believe that you only live once on this earth, right? So I do believe that you should spend money on things that you need to spend money to enhance your life. Now, that is within reason, in my opinion. I do think that it's important to have a balance. I do think you have to save. I do think you need to invest, especially in the future, and you need to invest in things that acquire you more wealth, not investing in things that, well, they wouldn't even be investing, just not spending your money on things that, that are frivolous, really.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think everything that you spend your money on should have a return or investment. I think you can spend on things that will not give you any returns or anything like that, but because you want them. Because that is about the balance in life of living and doing things because you want to, and doing things to kind of enhance your life and make you happy, but at the same time not going broke because of it and not going into crazy debt because of it. So it's a balance for me, but I definitely am more of a risk taker. And I veer more on the side of live your life as opposed to save for a rainy day. If they were on two extremes, I will be standing more on the live your life side. And so I think that's where...
Live or die trying.
But I do not, and I have to emphasize, I do not condone getting into debt in order to live your life. So there is definitely a balance, and I struggle with that balance because sometimes I want to do certain things that I'm like, but I just want to do it because I want to do it. I want to enjoy my life. But then I'm like, I've got goals and there's things we need to achieve, and how much should I let myself indulge?
Which is why talking about finances is important, because when you have a set goal, you as a person, you're able to remember the goals, and you're able to then push back on some of those urges that you may have to spend. But when you don't have those goals, then you're free to spend whatever you want to spend.
And I think that's probably one of the biggest things. I mean, if you don't have a goal, then you are just frivolously spending. So yeah, you're absolutely right. But I think I'm more of a risk taker than you anyway on most things. You're much more cautious, which I think is actually a good trait in a man. And maybe that's a bit misogynistic of me. I don't know. Internalized misogyny. But I do feel like a man is responsible for his family, especially when you have a woman with kids and stuff like that. You know, it's like in a crisis when they're like women and children first. It's because the men should be able to fend for themselves a bit. So I do think it's important that you... Oh, sorry, I interrupted you.
No. Yeah, I do believe that that's why it's right for men to be more cautious with spending. I definitely agree with that point. Because obviously being the protector, being the provider, even though... Not
the provider. We can't use that word.
Being the protector.
But I'm joking.
The protector, and the provider. And when I say provider, even though the woman works, if things go wrong, who are they looking at? They're looking at the man. Because you're responsible for keeping the family together. You protect the family. So financially, you need to have things in place that would ensure that your family is protected and is looked after.
So you still see it as your role. Yes. So because of that, you're more cautious. And I'm saying, I think that's a great trait. Even though we don't always see things in the same way, I absolutely like that about you. And I like the way you are about finances because I know that you're thinking about our family. And it makes you more reliable, in my view. Makes you someone that I can rely on, and it means that I feel like we're protected in a way.
So in saying all of that, do you want to tell everyone how we divide up our financial responsibilities? So
I think this is really interesting because I think we have done it differently over the years at different points.
Would you say it has evolved over the years, or it's just changed?
I think we're really flexible with how we do it, and I think it has changed over the years. So if we're talking about our bank accounts, we've always had our individual bank accounts. When we get paid, we don't have our money going into one single joint bank account, right? And that's something we discussed in the beginning. I think we discussed it before we even got married, isn't it? We discussed it when we were, engaged.
We've definitely discussed it.
So we already decided early on that we wanted to keep our individual bank accounts and our pay going into our individual bank accounts.
And that, just to make it clear, that was so that we will still have that independent in terms of like you're still your own person, you still have your own money, but it's still a joint thing. Hence why we then created the joint account. And
so like we spoke about in our last episode, we do things together. We're always in it together, but we're very conscious about keeping our individuality because we feel like we don't want to create one identity as Frank and Nuria. We want to be Nuria and Frank who operate as Frank and Nuria, if that makes sense. And we prioritize that. What works for us is definitely keeping our individual accounts with our individual money going into it. We also thought it was good because of things like surprising each other with stuff. And, there's things that Frank might want to do. He might want to do something for me, for our relationship, or just something that he's doing for himself on the side. Like maybe he's saving money for something that I don't necessarily know about. Not in a secretive way, but like for example, a good way to explain this is like I have on my bank account, when I spend money, a lot of people have this, I have a pot where it accumulates the change. So it rounds up the money and accumulates the change. That allows me to have my own little money where I'm spending. At the end of the year, I can see how much change I've accumulated. Having an individual account allows us to be able to do stuff like that. So when I say he might want to save up his own little money, he might have a goal for himself and just say, do you know what? I just want to make sure I save like an extra grand this month. And he can do that. And it's not really linked to us as a couple. Yeah. So we like the fact that we could do stuff like that. We could buy things for each other. We wouldn't necessarily know. And then we have our joint account when we do family stuff. It definitely does help
with surprises. Things like Valentine and birthdays, you don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
Because obviously you know that.
Yeah, it's not coming from the joint account. Because our joint account, whenever we do stuff on it, it sends notifications to the other person. Like
Nuria has been spending again. Please talk to her.
No, most of the time it's like Nuria has transferred £10 out. Nuria's transferred £50 in.
Why is she transferring more money, Frank? Please have a word with her.
But yes, we have individual bank accounts. We have a joint bank account. We have several. We have about 2 or 3 joint bank accounts, but they're for different reasons. So, but now we're moving over to one joint bank account, which is going to allow us to manage it a lot more effectively with different pots and stuff like that.
So it's still work in progress, really.
Yeah, I don't think we're work in progress in terms of how we manage our money, because I think we definitely keep our individual accounts with our joint account. But I think what is a work in progress is where we put that money, how we put, because we've moved over from one bank recently to another bank. We're much more internet banking now.
So the mechanism of
the mechanism is continuously developing. In the past, I would say we only used our joint account for things to do with the family. So everything else that wasn't so it was almost like a 50-50 lifestyle. Like you bring half, I bring half. And that's why I said it evolved over the years, because at one point it was very much you bring half, I bring half. And then we put it in the joint account and we paid the bills and stuff. That's not even how it started. That was when we became married and it became a bit more stable. Before that, we had the joint account to save money in.
Yeah, true.
So before we were married, we had a joint account, but it was just to save money and to build up money for things like our wedding and things like that.
But that helps, because that's a good practice, for people listening that are in a serious relationship. I think that's a good practice to know, what kind of approach your partner has. It's better to establish that at the beginning, where you have like a joint account, even if it's just somewhere that you both put money into.
Yeah, to see who's putting more money in and who how are they spending money. Yeah,
you kind of gauge like, oh wow, this guy's a spender. What's going on like here, because you want to
and you can talk about it. It is a good way to test it out and see how you guys would deal with money when it's in a joint setting. So saving up for things like our wedding, saving up for things like that. And then after we got married, it moved to using that joint account for our actual living expenses. So I would bring half, Frank would bring half, and then we did the kind of 50-50 relationship thing, which it gets a real bad rap. I think 50-50, especially in today's day and age, gets a real bad rap. And I think our relationship has evolved since then, and our money has evolved since then. But in the beginning, we were definitely much more 50-50. You bring half, I bring half, and then you've got the money to do with as you will as an individual. And that worked in the beginning before kids.
Yeah.
I think. When with the kids we had like one child, we didn't have a baby yet. I think that really worked 50-50 for us, because we were just an equal partnership. I think the dynamics changed after we had Guav, and he became like 1 year old, and we became more of a family. It wasn't just me and him in a relationship. We were now, he had a wife and a kid, and it was much more like I wasn't working because I went on maternity leave. You paid for pretty much everything, right? Because I wasn't working. And what do you think that did to the dynamics of our relationship? Because that's the first time where it was like, I'm not really bringing any money at all.
It didn't do anything. For me, it was like business as usual, because as a saver, I had been saving for a rainy day.
The rainy day arrived.
I had been saving for a rainy day, which is maternity leave and whatnot. So that was the rainy day. So that I was prepared for that.
Yeah, and I think the way you are with money really helped us, because that's when I really saw how beneficial the way you are with money is, because I was able to be off work for 10 months. You know, I was supposed to be off work for a year, and I went back 2 months earlier because I was like, okay, I'm ready to go back. You know, Guav was he was walking and stuff. So the fact that you had financially thought out what's going to happen when I'm not working, and you basically just had the money and dealt with everything, and we were perfectly fine. It really did make me think, wow, okay, what was I saying?
My approach isn't that bad.
Yeah. It really
because,
made me think,
before
wow.
that time, it was like you thought I was too cautious with money. I was too, you know, I wasn't living, you know,
life. Yeah. I was like, he out here saving for God knows what, and then God knows what happened. I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, you know, our standard of living did not drop, even though the income, my income was no longer there. And I was always in a good job, so I did get maternity pay for a significantly reasonable amount of time. But I think even full-time pay is, when you're in a government job, is like 6 months, isn't it?
Yeah.
So 6 months full-time pay was fine, but we still had, like, I was supposed to do another 6 months where it didn't affect our finances at all.
No.
So our finances were perfectly fine. And did I even get 6 month I don't think I got 6 month full-time pay anyway, did I?
I don't think it did. I think it was 3 months full
pay. It was 3
months.
Yeah,
it was half, whatnot. So,
yeah, I think it was like 3 months, and then it dropped after 3 months. Yeah, but I was still out of work for a long time, and I was comfortable, and it made me realize it is really important to save a decent amount of money and to really manage your finances. But I loved the dynamic of our relationship when I wasn't paying for anything. Hello.
Yeah, I know.
I could focus on the household and the kid that we had at the time. Yeah. So that made me think, wow, okay, this non-50-50 way,
it's not bad.
The provider way is not bad either. I like the 50-50 way as well, because I like to work. I'm a working woman. I don't mind it. And things are not always 50-50 with us anyway.
You got a taste of it, pepper soup.
I got a taste of the protector provider life, and I was like, this is cool. I like this too, just because it meant that I could. I didn't have to think about what's going to happen with financially, and I could focus on the kid. And at that time, I was basically the primary caregiver. I was at home all the time.
Which I enjoyed.
Yeah,
I think
I know you always said. I mean, you said in the earlier episodes.
Yeah, I enjoyed
that. You would want me to stay at home. I think
that's what I'm working towards. Actually, that's like one of my top goals.
Convince Nuria to stay at home and be a stay-at-home wife, right?
Yeah, definitely. I know. I enjoyed that dynamics, even though I was still part of, you know, looking after the kids. But you just knowing that I don't have to worry about that part, that aspect of it.
That's Frank's dream. He's like, and you know, it's not that we can't do that now. It's just that I have certain things that I want us to achieve quicker because of the way our plans require us both to work. Like basically. Yeah, because we are here trying to do the most.
Trying to make that good.
We're trying to secure our future and our children's future and our grandchildren's future.
Yeah. And live that good life.
If it's just
we're
about
us, we're going to chop life regardless. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Yeah.
I can't. Okay, yeah. So that's how we approach finances. So that was how it initially started. We kind of started off with 50-50. We then had a period of time where it was Frank fully paying for everything. And that kind of carried on even when I went back to work for a bit. And then we bought our second home, which was much more expensive, and we went back to 50-50. When we moved into this house, Frank got a promotion, I got a promotion, we had more money available, and then it was like, okay, let's manage this back to 50-50, and we did it that way for a while. But then the dynamics flipped again, because I was like, I really liked when Frank managed the money, and so we just figured, nah, let's go back to it where Frank pays for most things. I think it just made our relationship much more fun.
Because you felt like you were being looked after.
Yeah,
you know,
I felt more looked after, and so we went back to that.
You had more money to spend.
Yeah,
more shopping,
more
delivery.
So this is exactly. So what we did when we moved into this house that we're in now, we needed to decorate the home. And I think that is one of one of the things that made us split the dynamics back to Frank paying for everything, like the home, the car, that kind of stuff, and me paying for the domestic stuff. So the shopping, decor. So Frank's money more so being the one that takes care of the mortgage in the house and things like that. And we have that dynamic now, and that's kind of the dynamic that we've stayed with. So it's now more like we live off Frank's salary and then we enjoy life off my salary, which I think is reasonable. I think that plays to the way we view money as well.
I agree.
So it made it so much easier.
I agree.
What do you think?
I agree. I think there isn't a lot to add to that. I totally agree with that. I think I enjoy paying for like everything because it means that anything else is taken care of.
Yeah.
And then you have, control. You're literally looking after everything else. I don't have to worry about everything else that you were doing.
But then you don't worry about things like food and stuff like that. So you don't pay for like the food shopping and stuff like that, because there was a time where Frank was much more involved in the money for the food shopping and stuff, and I just felt like
you didn't like it. No, that was your territory.
Yeah, because what was happening is if he's providing money for that aspect as well, he would start questioning how I'm spending the money on the food. Like, do we need that many pieces of steak? Do you know what I mean? And that was causing arguments because don't police how I deal with food in this house. And so it just kind of became like
she was raiding M&S.
No,
trying to buy them out.
Oh God, I can't. Yeah, so then I proposed like, no, give me food. Like, just don't give me any money towards food. I'll deal with food 100%, and a few things like entertainment, like, that are kind of like Sky TV and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's how we deal with it now. But it helps Frank because Frank is more cautious. If anything should happen, he knows that he can take care of us, right? So it helps him to know that the money he brings keeps the roof over our head. We're always going to have our car. We're always going to have fuel. We're always going to have all of that. So he knows that no matter what happens with me, we have our basic needs. And so he doesn't have to stress about finances and he doesn't have to worry that I'm spending a certain way.
Yeah,
but at the same time, he still polices what I spend. When things get delivered, he'll still be there like, why are you buying that? You don't need this.
You have to.
Yeah,
you have to.
Because we still have savings. We have savings goals and we have investment and stuff like that. So what is our financial goal and how will we work together to achieve it?
Our financial goal. We have several financial goals, don't we?
Yeah. Do we want to tell everybody that?
No.
Don't they say move in silence?
Yeah. Financial goals. If you want to know what our financial goal is, send us an email and we'll tell you, huh?
No, we're being too secretive. We have some financial goals that we can reveal.
We'll just reveal one of them.
Okay,
I can only give you one. I'm sorry.
Mr. Private person. Frank is the private person.
What is it? Which one do we want to reveal?
I think a financial goal. I mean, it depends on what the question means.
We don't have to talk about a figure. We can talk about like
what we want to do. Yeah, I know. Financially, we want to retire like before 60. That's a financial goal, right? We want to have enough money that before we're 60, we can retire and we can live off whatever our financial goal is.
Way before 60.
I just say before 60 because ideally we want to retire when we're 50. That's our like ideal situation. Yeah. If we can, 55 will be good. 60 will be like, all right, it took us a while, but we did it. But before 60 definitely is a financial goal. We want to have enough ventures in place that we don't have to work at all.
Yeah.
And another financial goal that I think we can reveal is for our kids.
Yeah.
We want to be able to give our kids a head start.
Yeah. That's a big one. Yeah. Give them a head start. Have things in place for them.
Yeah.
Things that we ourselves did not have.
Yeah. Like I had a student loan, for example, when I went to uni, and a lot of people around the country do. So that's a very normal thing.
True.
But we don't want our kids to, if they do decide to go to university, we don't want them to have student loan, which is a privilege. That's a luxury to be able to study and have it fully paid for. So we want to give our kids what Frank had. You didn't have studying without having to.
I'm not going to go into that. But yeah, we've given them 2.
Okay, that's it.
That's too much. Yeah.
All right. Well, you'll find Frank is very personal. He doesn't like talking about his business. That's why I was like, it's weird that he wants to do a podcast, considering that he doesn't like divulging too much information.
I would only give them what they need to hear. So yes, we've spoken about how we divide our financial responsibilities, and you mentioned savings, spending, and whatnot. So, but how do you want to tell everyone how we manage our credit and debt? Because that's...
Do you want to tell everybody how we manage our credit and debt?
That's a sticky situation
it's a sticky one.
Yeah, in relationships.
Credit and debt is a big one because, like I said, a lot of people go to uni. A lot of people have student loans. The thing about student loans is that it tends to come out of your pay anyway, so that's not so bad.
But
right?
You bring it into
but you do bring it into a relationship, and it is something that needs to be cleared. But a lot of people don't view it as something that needs to be cleared. It wasn't until me and you kind of got serious and got married that I started to view my student loan as a debt. I never really viewed it like that, but it's because you view everything as debt.
It was part of our calculations. Because obviously it's a case of that, okay, we're now together, we're about to get married, or we're married now. What are you coming? What do you have? What's your baggage? And what's my baggage? Yeah, you put them together.
Yeah, because at one point we were on a similar salary, but you were getting paid significantly more than me. And I was like, well, not significant, but more than me. And I was like, why is that? And then we realized, because of my student loan. And I was gutted because I was like, oh, so that's what I would be getting if I didn't have student loan. So it was through you that I kind of really realized that, it really does affect my pay. And then that made us want to kind of clear it quicker. Yeah. And, I'm proud to say I cleared my student loan quite a few years ago now, innit? So paying off my student loan quick was a big achievement for me. But you helped in terms of how I viewed it, because I didn't really view it as debt. It wasn't sold to us as debt.
No, it never is. Yeah. But we, in terms of credit and debt, we do manage them really well. We
try and keep credit cards at zero. We have credit cards though, because we recognize that stuff helps you to build up your credit record. And I think also we recognize that credit is necessary. Debt is going to be necessary. Even the house that we own now is a debt. We're paying off our mortgage, so we're paying off a debt. Credit is helpful.
But it's good debt. It's not, I purchased this bag and I have to pay it back kind of debt. But investment debt.
It's investment debt. But also, if you can afford it, it's okay. This is where we begin to disagree, because I'm like, if you can afford to go on holiday and it will cost you 5k, put that 5k on a credit card. Don't pay 5k from your money. Whereas Frank is much more like, pay 5k from your money and keep your credit card at zero. And I think that's where we differ, because I'm like, no, put it on your credit card and clear it, because that helps your credit. It also protects your money. Because your money that sits in your bank account, you shouldn't purchase things like that with your money. You shouldn't have your actual card details and things like that roaming around. Use credit cards and then clear it.
I agree with that.
And clear it quick. Clear it next month.
I agree with that. But I think you've quoted me wrong there. I think my one was, if you don't have any money, sit your bottom down. Holidays. Plan for holidays. Don't just like, I'm going to put on that credit card, I'm going to put on this credit card. If you don't have money to clear that credit card anytime soon. Why are
you putting it? And that's not how we operate.
That was my thing. So
so that is how we manage it.
We do things in with our credit card, which will clear within a month, 2 months. It's like bam, because we know that money's coming, so we clear it.
Or we know that money's there. Like we know if push comes to shove, we could take money from our savings and clear that credit card.
But using the card as a way to protect your money, as a way to build up your credit history is definitely right. I definitely agree with that. But
And how do we deal with debt? Now, do we merge our debt or do we keep it separate in terms of debt? Do we merge it as a couple or do we keep it separate?
Obviously, it's separate because it's in our separate names, right? But it's seen as one debt. We always calculate it as one debt. Like if it's this and that, then it's like it's the total is this. That's how I see it. That's how we've always viewed it. It's not a case of like, have you cleared your shit? If you haven't, then better go and clear this quickly. Because I've cleared
I'm
my
going on holiday.
I'm gonna go on holiday because I've cleared my one.
We're not like that.
We're not like that. So it's one thing because we're in it together. So this is why when I first met you and you were building up debt. like you know, house being
you
built.
don't mind telling, you don't mind telling that business, yeah? No. So you don't mind telling business that's not yours.
No, okay, I'll start again. When I first met you,
it's fine,
the student loan was seen as a debt. That's why I would always say, now you've got to clear that, because I saw it as a debt that you brought into our relationship.
Sorry,
No, it's fine. But
I needed my law degree. I was trying to get my law degree,
and it was worth it. But the point was that it is now part of our relationship, our marriage.
Because so that was money that was being taken away from us.
Exactly.
Every time. It was being paid for.
So it needed to be cleared.
Yeah.
So that's how we dealt with it. It's not your kind of thing. No, it's a joint thing.
Yeah. But we don't have any joint credit cards. Can you even get a joint credit card? I don't remember.
We do have a joint credit card. I put you on my credit cards.
No, yeah, true.
Forgot about that.
I have cards that are Frank's cards. Yeah, that's true. Fair enough. But yeah, we manage our debt as separately but jointly. So we have individual debt, but we merge it in terms of how we view our debt. Okay. So what are our expectations around financial transparency? Oh my gosh. This is
very important.
Yes.
Transparency? Financial transparency? Is that the question? You have to be transparent.
Oh, goodness.
Like a chameleon. Is it?
Yeah, it's a chameleon that blends into the background. Yeah.
You have to be transparent.
I don't know if that's transparency though.
That's concealing. That's concealing.
A chameleon conceals.
What's transparent again?
Water.
Yeah, you have to be as clear as water. As clear as, not even no dirty water. Clear as clean water. Do you understand? You have to water
in the Caribbean.
Yes.
But you know what? This is where Frank gets juiced, because this is definitely Frank's. This is Frank's grounds. This is where he lives. Yeah, God. Financial transparency, Mr. Cross all the T's and dot all the I's and cross all the T's.
I need to know everything.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't know everything, unfortunately. Huh? Unfortunately, you don't know everything because we have our individual money in our individual accounts.
But that's fine. If you want to spend quick money doing this, doing that, it's fine. But we talk about large purchases.
Yeah, oh God.
Yeah. It's one thing to pop to the store and, do some shopping and buy some stuff for yourself. Yeah. So transparency is vital.
Yeah. When it comes to debt, when it comes to big purchases, we are very financially transparent. When it comes to this family member needs money, or we need to borrow money to this person, or and we weren't in the beginning.
No, we weren't.
And it was me, because obviously my family, like I said, are much more like Congolese. Yeah. And so in the beginning I was like, no, it's my money. I'm doing what I'm doing with my money. Yeah. And Frank was like, no ma'am, you're not going to do that. What you're not going to do is borrow big money to someone and not tell me.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's the big deal? It doesn't affect our jointness. But he was like, yeah, it does, because if they don't pay you back, you are now short by that money that those people owe you. And if you're short, then that means we're short.
Yeah.
So
I need to know that.
Yeah.
So, I can mitigate that process, that situation.
So now he knows all of it. So if anyone out there wants to borrow money from me, any of my friends and family, just know that Frank is gonna have to know. And and he does. Yeah, so we're big on financial transparency, and it's part of what we're going to talk about later when we talk about some tips on, what we think would help with managing finances in a relationship.
So you mentioned there about large purchases and stuff. So how do we handle large purchases and investments?
Well, we've spoken about large purchases. We do not, because our money is joint, we make joint decisions on large purchases. Mm-hmm. I mean, like the couch, the house. The things that cost a bit more, we make a joint decision, and we always know that money is being spent. But at the same time, what happens when we have to make a large purchase and we disagree on what we should get?
Discuss it.
Yeah.
We discuss it. Sometimes
we always come to agreement.
We always come to an agreement. Sometimes we end up not making that purchase because
I don't think we've ever not made a purchase because
we have the detached house.
The detached house is postponed until further notice.
No, we will normally discuss.
We're still buying it.
Yeah, we're still buying it, just not now. What happens when we discuss it? The things that we discuss is, do we really need it right now? Yeah. For example, the television that we purchased a few years ago. Because we had one already, so we discussed what's the benefit of buying the new one? Okay, it's going to be larger screen. It's going to be, touch screen. It's going to be this, going to be that, blah, blah, blah. So
it was not
it's not touch screen, but it was going to be...
Yeah, it was like more
do we really
smart
need
TV.
one now? So we tend to discuss large purchases that we both don't agree on.
Yeah.
And then we'll come to an agreement. We ended up purchasing it because we both agreed that yes.
Yeah, the other one should move to the kitchen. Yeah. It was more about having another TV in the kitchen, so we could move our old one to the kitchen, so that when the kids are in the kitchen, we're always in the kitchen, which is like the kitchen dining room. We're always there.
Yeah.
And that was my argument.
Yeah.
and it was agreed.
It was a sound one. So we both agreed on it. That was it.
But I know at first it wasn't. You didn't.
No, I didn't.
But it is what it is. Investments.
Yeah.
We make much more joint decisions when it comes to investments, for sure.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
we do.
We have investment accounts. We have savings investments.
Yeah.
We do like stock market investing.
Yeah.
So how do we handle that? Like,
we discuss it. We look at what's trending in the market and we invest it.
Yeah.
We put our money where we believe the market will move. But obviously it's manageable. We do tend to tell each other what we invest in. Yeah. So that we mitigate any risk. And we advise each other on what the other person should be doing or shouldn't be doing. Right? Yeah. So
we do tell each other, and I think also we understand each other's approach. So even if Frank might not tell me everything he's investing in financially, every stock, every share, I know that his approach is like pharmaceuticals. So he will invest in some pharmaceutical, some pharma company somehow. Anyway, so. Understanding his approach also helps, because when you're looking at the news, I know when there's pharma news that Frank is going to be interested in that and stuff like that. Yeah. So even if I don't know all your investments, I definitely know what your approach is. Whereas my approach is not. I don't care whether it's what sector. I'm much more what's trending, what's making money, what's moving. Yeah. I would invest more on a individual stock basis and try and get rid of it ASAP. Yeah. Whereas Frank is much more long-term investments and stuff like that. Ideally, you're much more long-term.
Yeah. And we invest in for the kids as well.
Yeah,
that's another thing that we do as well.
So that's another approach.
Investment portfolio for the kids.
Yeah.
Which is something that we both, came to the conclusion of doing. We both agreed that,
they should have their investment accounts and build up money in there for them.
Yeah.
So how do we deal with financial differences in opinion? I mean, we've spoken about that. We talk about it. We respect each other's views as well. I see the benefit of the way Frank deals with money and how cautious he is. And I try and just get him to balance that, to be a bit more... carefree, a bit more, spend a bit more, buy things, especially for himself, not just on me, because he does spend on me. But I think spending on himself, sometimes he doesn't do that, and so I would spend on him because he doesn't spend on himself. I'd like to buy him gifts and stuff, and at the same time I encourage him to buy stuff for himself. And
I've warmed up to your chop life regardless approach.
No, not chop life regardless.
No, because I've eased up on my cautiousness approach. I think in comparison to 3-4 years ago, I think I'm a bit more chilled.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, way more chilled. So yeah.
And also, I think another thing that I bring to our relationship in terms of a difference of opinion is I'm much more giving financially. I'm much more likely to give money to people or family or things like that. Whereas you're much more like everything is accounted for. So I feel like I've kind of helped us to be a lot more.
I don't know. I will not put that out. I don't agree with that.
Like, I'm more likely, if between me and you, I'm more likely to be the one to borrow money to someone than you. So I'm much more giving in that sense. That's what I meant.
But I don't borrow people money. I give people money. Money that I've given have not come back to me. Like when I give the money that I've given.
Okay, so you're more likely to give money, whereas I'm more likely to...
And if I don't have it...
Yeah, you won't.
I don't give it because I'm not expecting that money back.
Yes, exactly. It's a different approach. But I think I've made us more likely to borrow money to people that need it. Help where people need it. Yeah. Or, And I think you've come round to that. Because it's true, you're much more like, I can give you money. if I've got it, I'll give it to you. But you don't like to really borrow money. And I understand why, because, you know, it can cause issues.
It can. I think we're in a better space with that whole borrowing, giving money. We discuss it with each other. Or we say, right, okay, do we have money to give or to borrow? If we do,
we do it.
Ahead.
Yeah. And then there's certain family members that we just don't borrow money to.
But it's risky borrowing money to family members.
Yeah, money and family is a mess.
Money, it's a mess.
Yeah. Okay, so that's that on differences of opinion. How do we handle financial emergencies? Well, we have savings.
We have savings, yeah.
We have credit cards.
We have credit cards.
Have we ever had to use credit card for financial emergency? I don't think so. But we have them.
Emergency. Yeah.
And we have saving pots.
Yeah, so that's it.
Yeah, so I would say always make sure you have a financial emergency pot.
You have to have that there.
And now the bank that we bank with now helps us to do that as well. Which is why I love it. Right, so I think
hopefully that's covered
a lot of it. So if we had to list what we think you need to do as a couple to manage finances, we have 7 things.
Yay!
I know. We have 7 things that we've listed as being like key. So the first one is
understand and respect each other's approach and views on finances.
Yeah, I wanted Frank to say that one.
Yeah, that's really important.
Yeah,
that's really important. You have to give each other the space that they need in terms of respect, that they know what they are doing, that they can manage their own money as well as manage the money within
the relationship. Yeah. You know,
that's really important.
Yeah, respect
not
the
treating them like a child. Like, you know, that you have to let me have your card. Give me the card.
Well, you've had to do that with one of my credit cards before.
I've had to. That was terrible.
That was back in the day. Frank had to confiscate my credit card. But respecting that individuality and respecting that the person is an adult, and especially if you realize that you have different approaches to money, split the way you deal with it. Keep your accounts separate and then do things together that needs to be done together. You know, even if that doesn't mean that you have to be 50-50. You can still split the way you deal with finances, and the other person is the one that predominantly, makes the money and does things around the house. So, keeping your individual account, splitting some of your money in that way does not mean that you're going to be, doing 50-50, because some people don't want to do 50-50. I think it's a good thing. I think if you each have the individual roles that you play, it's good because it helps with clarity. So understand and respect each other's approaches and views on finances. And that includes the person who's more cautious and a saver. They're not tight. That's why I didn't want you to describe yourself as, tight, because you're not tight. You give a lot, you buy a lot for people and me and stuff like that. So you're not tight. You're just more sensible, The second one is establish a budget. Oh gosh, budgeting is absolutely everything. That's
very, very important. Very, very important. Setting a budget that covers all expenses is an essential step to successfully managing your money. And you do that pretty well.
Yes, I am. See, it's funny how I'm the spender, but I am the budgeter in our family. I deal with all the finances, even though I don't bring in all the money for the finances. I deal with all the finances in terms of what we pay, when we pay it, how it gets paid, what's on direct debit, what date is coming out. I basically do the job of like a bookkeeper, like I reconcile all our banks. I track
you do a fantastic job as well, I must say.
Thank you. But
establishing a budget does just ensure that communication is open and is frequent about finances. Because we can sit down and we can have a look at the spreadsheet. And talk about what the next couple of months is going to look like, and additional bills that we're bringing together, we're putting together and whatnot. So
and our financial budget and spreadsheet is on a Google Drive, so Frank has access to it at any time. And so whenever things change on there, if I update things on there, when new things have happened in our life and our finances are different, he can see it on there, and it clearly shows like what he's paying for, what I'm paying for. And even though I manage the food, I still have a budget for the food, which he's fully aware of. He knows how much I spend monthly on groceries, how much I spend on actual food shopping like meat and things like that. And so we still have that budget, and that really helps. And if you guys want to hear more about budgeting, I'm sure there's tons of videos on YouTube. But you know, you can always drop us an email, could always help with that. If you want to know how we actually budget, we can go into that. Number 3 is develop a financial plan. So consider discussing and developing a financial plan with your partner. And this could include goals that you both want to accomplish. So like Frank knows how I feel about real estate. He knows how I feel about properties. And he's on board with that. So the goal of, you know, us having a home, a specific type of home, he's on board with that. And his financial goals on investments and stuff like that, I'm on board with that. So we try and stay on the same page and have a plan. Although the plan fluctuates a lot.
It does. But we always amend as we go along. And yeah. The 4th one is communicate regularly. It's important that you communicate when it comes to finances. Talking to your partners about spending habits, goals, and how you can achieve them is really, really important.
Yeah.
I think the habit one is I think is key. It's key that you get that right while you're still in that relationship
stage. Understand each other's habits. Try and incorporate it as well. Yeah. Like if someone likes eating out, set a budget for eating out so that it doesn't become an argument.
We mentioned date night. Is it last episode?
Yeah, last episode.
Set a budget for that.
Yeah.
If you're with someone that likes eating out, if you don't factor that into your budget, you know, you guys will be eating out 2-3 times a week, and
it'll be an argument. Like I like eating out. My parents always used to take us out Chinese restaurant, so I wanted that in our marriage as well. But Frank loves home cooked food, so our kind of middle ground on that was to eat out once a week. So every Friday as a family is eating out day, is takeaway day, and the kids love that as well. So that's a way that we incorporated how I like to spend money on food into our lifestyle. But before we did that, it was Frank would complain a lot, like, why are we just had takeaway the other day, and you know, and I would cook, but sometimes there'll be food in the house and I don't want to eat that. I want to order out. So having that once a week was really, really good. It was good for our health as well, like to manage how we spend money on eating out. But date nights, you know, if your partner loves shoes and wants to buy a pair of shoes every month, factor that into things, you know. Make sure your spending habits are factored in, and communicating regularly. We do that in our monthly catch-ups with our date nights. And we also do it especially at the end of the year when we have our end of year review. We definitely talk about finances. So put something in place that allows you to talk about it. And even if it's not in that review style way, when things come up financially, share with your partner. Or another thing we do is when we get bonuses at work, we split it. That's another thing that we do with our finances to keep us like united. So nobody comes into no big winnings from bonuses at work, and it's like
and not share it.
Because any bonus and things like that, we see it as bonus, like money to spend. So we would literally split it and you know, and do what we want with it.
Yes, we do.
So that was number 4. Number 5 is discuss future goals.
We've mentioned this before in terms of like talk about things like retirement and funds that we put for the kids and whatnot. Develop a plan to ensure that we are both financially secure. So ensure that you both understand what the plan is and how you're gonna get there. You both understand it.
Especially for like retirement and what is the plan? Like we can't just be living and living and living. What's gonna happen in the future? How are we gonna live when we're not working? Number 6 is set up a savings account. Even if your money is not pooled together into one joint account, which we don't even recommend that, do we? I don't think I would recommend a couple to have one joint account where both your money goes into.
Both your salaries.
I think you lose a sense of individuality.
I think it's better to have a joint account. That you can do things with. You can pull money together in that account and all our bills gets paid from our joint account. So in a way, it's almost as if our money is pulled together, but we still have our individual accounts. So set up a savings account. Consider setting up a joint savings account as well as maybe a joint current account, because we have a joint savings account and we have a joint current account. So with specific goals in mind. If you have more internet-based joint accounts, then you can set up a pot
which you know how much I love pots, which is like a joint savings account. So you can have a joint current account and set up pots where you save for specific things. And if we're talking long-term investment type, retirement type savings, consider setting up the big investment kind of savings accounts like Vanguard, Fidelity, Hargreaves Lansdown. Have something like that where you can actually, you know, use the tax reliefs that are available to you to actually save up money for your like future. And I'm sure there's loads of videos and stuff about that as well, but if you want to email us, we can send you some links to some cool videos on YouTube about that.
And the 7th one is track spending. I think we've already touched upon this in terms of keeping a track of what you're spending. I think the spreadsheet is one of them. Knowing what's outgoing and whatnot.
So I don't use our spreadsheet anymore to track our spending. I just use it for our budgeting. But that's why we've moved over to our new bank account, because it has a lot of statistics on how our spending is, and it gives us graphs and charts but that's all my job as the financial manager in the family. But track spending, and we do that with our bank account. It tracks it through that, and we're able to see what we're spending on what, and it's really helpful. But if you get a good bank account that allows you to do that, a lot of the new internet-based bank accounts do that, and they're great for tracking spending. So that's our, 7 tips. Understand and respect each other's approach, establish a budget, develop a financial plan, communicate regularly, discuss future goals, set up savings accounts, and track your spending to stay on top of it.
That's it. It's as simple as that. There's nothing else to it. It's not complicated.
You just have to consciously do it, and I think a lot of people don't always consciously do it.
From everything we've said, I think 2 things for me, I would say. I think the transparency and the communication. Be transparent with what you're doing financially.
And planning. And probably 3 things.
Maybe 3 things, So transparency, communication, and planning. Be transparent with your finances. Communicate regularly. And plan for the future.
Plan for the future. Plan for the now. Plan things out. So that's it, guys. You've heard everything we've got to say about why finance matters in marriage. And we've given you lots of information about how we manage finances in our relationship, some of the issues that we've come across over the years and how we've resolved them. And we've given you some tips on how you can approach finances in your relationship to ensure that you have a successful and thriving marriage. We appreciate everyone that takes the time to listen to our podcast, and we're super grateful for all your engagement with us. We really hope you tune into the next episode, which will be our last episode of this season, and we'll be discussing the importance of communication in relationships. You already know how important communication is to us and how much we talk about it on every episode. So we will give you some tips on exactly how we do it in our relationship. Don't forget to email us any of your questions, comments, or dilemmas at itt.thepodcast@gmail.com. Or send us a DM on Instagram at ITT Podcast, or one word. Thank you for hanging out with us, and we'll speak to you on the next one. Bye.